The Movielife burned super bright in the early 2000s, releasing two stunning records and making a huge name for themselves. But by the midpoint of the decade, they'd already burned up and burned out. So what the hell happened? The story is a wild one, as near-fatal bus crashes, lofty musical ambitions, competing side projects, and a whole load of infighting conspired to rip the Movielife apart. If you're a fan of early 2000s pop-punk and melodic emotional hardcore, you're gonna love this one. If you caught my Taking Back Sunday video, you'll know a bit about this already. The late 90s was an awesome time for proto-emo and post-hardcore music, and no one was doing it better than the guys in Long Island. This was the time and the place for special things to happen. Maybe Eddie Reyes, Nick Gambarian, Alex Emerudin, Evan Bacon, and Vinnie Caruana could feel that magic in the air when they got together to form the Movielife. Well, maybe Nick Gambarian didn't. He quit the band in 1997, and Phil Navetta joined on bass. Their first recording together was the now famous Red Demo, the only Movielife material featuring Reyes. A little later, Reyes would leave the band behind. This was a shame, because it was one of those decisions that really worked out for the best. Eddie Reyes formed Taking Back Sunday, while the Movielife brought Brandon Reilly in on guitar. Reilly's addition really changed everything. The band now had a solid creative core that would shape their future sound, so they needed a new recording to show what they could do. They put together the White Demo in 1998. Fadeaway Records loved the demo tape and signed the band on a single album deal. It's Go Time, the Movielife's debut, wasn't exactly a hit, but it did get them noticed. Those early tracks were a little heavier than the raw-edged, emotive punk the band would become famous for, and the hardcore community sat up and took notice. With that one album, the Fadeaway deal now done and dusted, the band were free to find a new label, and believe me, there were a lot of potential suitors. Equal Vision came calling, but couldn't agree terms with the band. Instead, it was Revelation Records that signed the Movielife. Revelation's back catalog reads like a who's who of late 80s, early 90s hardcore. Gorilla Biscuits, Inside Out, Warzone, Sick of It All these heavyweights put out records on Revelation. The Movielife didn't exactly fit in with this kind of crowd, but that didn't matter. There was real talent here. The Movielife were going places, and if Revelation could keep hold of them, band and label could do great things together. But that relationship was about to fall apart, in dramatic circumstances. If you were a post-hardcore, pop-punk, or emo band in 2001, there was one place you needed to be: the roster at Drive-Thru Records. In my Phoenix TX video, I talk about how the Texan pop-punkers became the first band on Drive-Thru, when brother and sister duo Richard and Stephanie Rains finished up their internship at Mojo Records and started their own label. By 2001, the Rains had already snapped up some of the best and brightest U.S. alternative music talent, including the likes of Newfound Glory and Midtown. And now they had the latest hot property on their books, the Movielife. But if you think this is just another story of an up-and-coming label signing a cool new band, think again. Playing shows was always key to what the Movielife was all about, and the energy of those live performances won the band thousands of fans coast to coast. But in the depths of winter on the outskirts of Jamestown, North Dakota, the band witnessed firsthand just how bad things can get when you push your touring schedule to the limit. Addled by lack of sleep and an intense schedule, and in a hurry to get to the next venue, the band hit a patch of ice on Interstate 94. The ensuing crash could very easily have been fatal, but miraculously the band got away with only minor injuries. Their van wasn't so lucky. It was totaled along with their gear. Revelation's response? Go catch a train and make the 40-hour journey back to Penn Station, NYC by yourselves. If you're a Movielife fan, these words probably sound familiar to you. Drive-Thru, eager to win the band over, were a little more compassionate. They offered to replace the van and all the wrecked gear. This gesture was not lost on the guys. The Movielife parted ways with Revelation and signed with Drive-Thru. And they didn't waste any time either. Shortly after signing, they put out the EP, Has a Gambling Problem, on their new label. Whether the members of the Movielife really did have gambling problems or not is their own business. When it came to their music, though, they were onto a surefire winner. They were on the best label in town, and they were kicking out gems that kids across the country, and even across the whole world, were falling in love with. Has a Gambling Problem is a point of evolution for the Movielife, more polished and more refined than their earlier work, but retaining that tough, hardcore edge. The EP gained real critical acclaim. But the recording process was not an easy one. Far from it. Much of that refinement came from Brandon. Vinnie and the others wanted to continue as they were, making awesome hardcore punk and bringing that trademark Long Island sound to a wider audience. Brandon Reilly, on the other hand, was becoming increasingly experimental with melody and musical texture. Would this creative dynamic lead to something beautiful? Or was it simply conflict, ready to tear the band apart? As 2001 gave way to 2002, it seemed the ticking time bomb that was the Movielife was just about holding it together. The band were back in the studio, putting together their first full-length record for Drive-Thru. That record was 40-Hour Train Back to Penn, a heavy nod to the story of how the band signed with Drive-Thru in the first place. And it's an awesome half hour of everything that's so great about the Movielife. Opener Face or Kneecaps comes out swinging, with a sturdy opening riff and a chorus that's catchy as all hell. And then there's Jamestown, a stunning piece of heavy pop-punk that charts the near-death incident on that icy highway in North Dakota. This should be a document of a band at the height of their powers. But it's not. Instead, it's a farewell note from a band on their way out. First of all, Alex Amarudin, the guitarist who'd been there from the very beginning, left the band, midway through a tour. Amarudin said he was disenchanted with the way the band was going, and told tales of infighting and mutual distrust between members. Nevetta's brother Dan replaced him. The situation didn't look good, but it was about to get way worse. On tour in 2003, another bus crash left drummer Evan Bacon badly injured. The band limped on without him, playing a bunch of shows with autopilot off, and Berlin, and further seems forever. But the tensions were really showing now. Brandon, in particular, seemed bored with the whole thing, as if the music the band had poured their heart and soul into for years just wasn't doing it for him anymore. He was done, and if Brandon Reilly was done, that meant the Movielife was done too. They fulfilled their final tour obligations, and then, on September 29, 2003, they announced it was all over. "We have no plans to continue being a band," their statement read. "We care greatly for one another and wish each other the best that life can bring." A sweet sentiment, I guess. But it kind of feels like a "it's not you, it's me" breakup via text message. Still, at least now Brandon was free to see other people. So just what the hell was he going to do now? If anyone was in any doubt as to why the Movielife broke up, the next few years made it all very, very clear. Let's start with Eye and the Avalanche, the first band to emerge from the ashes of the Movielife. Caruana and Romness formed this band basically straight after the breakup, releasing their debut album in 2005. I Took a Beating, from that first album, is a brilliant piece of grungy pop-punk that showcased exactly what Caruana had been trying to do with the Movielife. It's sharp, it's fun, and it's heartfelt. Oh, and the lyrics. "I took a beating in 2003. At least I improved my threshold for pain." I think Caruana might be trying to tell us something about those final months of the Movielife. Eye and the Avalanche haven't been super prolific. It took them 6 years to release another record. But anyone who's ever heard Brooklyn Dodgers off the second LP knows it was worth the wait. Caruana is a pop-punk genius, and it almost makes you sad for what the Movielife could have been, if they held it all together. Okay, so what about Brandon Reilly? Well, he didn't hold back either. By 2005, he'd released a record too, with his new project, Nightmare of You. One listen to the band's self-titled debut album tells you basically everything you need to know. There's guitar there, but it's low in the mix. Alongside it, we've got synth. A lot of synth. We're talking Pet Shop Boys levels of synth, and a vibe that sounds like Eurythmics soundtracking an 80s buddy cop show set in Miami. And Reilly's voice is pretty different too. Caruana might have been the main vocalist for the Movielife, but Reilly definitely had his part to play. He had his own style, but there were heavy, Long Island punk rocker overtones in there too. With Nightmare of You, though, there's a definite English twang. Reilly channels the British indie pop aesthetic of Soft Cell's Mark Almond or The Cure's Robert Smith. Don't get me wrong, it's great. Back in 2005, this was a real curveball, a breath of fresh air that delighted fans and critics alike. And it shows us exactly why Brandon Reilly ended up running away from his old band. This was the record Reilly desperately wanted to make, and the Movielife were never going to make this record. So, was that it? The guys were really through with each other and just happy doing their own thing? Not exactly. It seems Caruana and Reilly were at least trying to keep their own friendship alive. The first attempt came in 2010 when the pair got back together with the Nevada brothers and Evan Bacon to perform a Movielife set in New Jersey. A second show followed in New York. Was this it? What the fans had been waiting for? No. While Caruana was really up for a full reunion, Reilly wasn't feeling it. "I don't think Brandon was ready," Caruana said later. "I think the timing was wrong. We were trying to force it, but our lives weren't there yet. But there was enough water under the bridge to try again. This time, was it going to stick?" In 2014, the Movielife shocked the world. They'd be performing their first show in 3 years at Irving Plaza in NYC. And when asked if there was a new album on the way, Vinnie Caruana said, yes, 100%. Okay, he didn't say that. He said never ruled it out. But still, that was better than absolutely nothing at all. In 2016, fans finally had some new material to enjoy. Future Feeling, Afraid of Drugs, was the band's first single in well over a decade, and it carried all the hallmarks of classic Movielife. Rough guitars, plenty of feedback, wide open spaces for the vocals to come alive, and the smart lyrics fans had grown accustomed to. Now just a three-piece of Brandon, Vinnie, and Brett, the Movielife released Cities in Search of a Heart in 2017, and fans lost their absolute minds when they announced a kind of early 2000s drive-thru special tour with Newfound Glory the following year. Today, the Movielife are staying true to their roots in a big way, both musically and geographically. A tour in 2024 saw the band playing their fan favorites to adoring audiences around the Northeast, giving crowds the chance to enjoy era-defining tunes all over again. And joining them on this tour? Head Atomica, featuring Daryl Palumbo of Glassjaw fame, and Crime in Stereo, basically a dream lineup of legendary New York bands. And of course, they're playing the When We Were Young Festival in Las Vegas in 2025. The band are alive and well, and they're cementing their legacy as one of the all-time greats. We can't blame Brandon Reilly for wanting to do something a bit different. He'd been feeling a little constrained by the Movielife's pop-hardcore blueprint, and with Nightmare of You, he could really flex his creative muscles and spread his musical wings. But the fact he got to do all that and get back together with his old buddies in the Movielife at the end of it all? Now that's something we can all be grateful for. Thanks for joining me for this one. I've got another pop-punk deep dive coming right up, and of course, let me know what other stories you would like me to cover in the comments.